What is up, everyone? So the topic of today's video is getting metal bass tones with nothing but Logic Pro plugins, whether you have a bass or not. So I've been asked a lot of questions about this topic and I hope that this video can answer some of those. So first of all, here is my bass guitar. I bought this used a couple of months ago. It's an Ibanez Sound Gear series. That's the old Prestige series. I think the exact model name is SR1305. It's over 20 years old actually, but still in very good shape. I really love the look of it. We got a two-piece Paduk body, a Wenge and Babinga neck and a Wenge fretboard. And those words just look absolutely stunning to me. Yeah, I got this for a pretty good price and it does an excellent job and I'm really happy with it. Just to get that out there, I'm not a bass player. I'm just a guitarist who needs a bass for its basic purpose, for my demos and, recordings, because without bass it just doesn't work. Right, so this bass actually covers 3 tunings, which is, the normal tuning is drop A, but it's also possible to tune it up to drop A sharp or down to drop G sharp. It's an 130 string gauge at the bottom and I think that it works pretty well for those 3 tunings. Of course, the drop A tuning is the perfect one, but yeah, I'm not too picky about that. But here's the thing. I also have a guitar that is tuned to drop B and an 8 string which is tuned to F sharp standard. I can't tune the bass to those pitches because it's either too low or too high. So what I do there is I use MIDI bass, and that's the interesting part for everyone who doesn't own a bass. So what we're gonna do now is take a look at 2 of my recent projects, one with real bass and the other with MIDI bass. I'm quickly gonna guide you through the methods and plugins that I used, which are, as already mentioned, only Logic intern plugins, and I hope that this will help you to get yourself a better bass tone. Let's switch to the computer, shall we? And here we are at the first project. So to start, I'd say we just listen to this little extract. Alright, and now just the bass. Okay, so as you already have seen here, I'm using 2 tracks for the bass, and that is the little secret. Well, it's not a secret because it's quite a common method to get a nice crunchy but also a good sound. Let's take a look at the low track, which by itself sounds not really like a bass, and that's because I totally cut away the highs, and that's because I'm adding those with the other track, which we're gonna see in a minute. By the way, how does the signal of the bass get into Logic? Well, I'm using my POD HD500 without any amp simulation, just dry. So the signal comes directly from the bass, dry, into Logic. And you may be surprised, I'm not using any amplifier on my track. So it's basically a DI track that I'm working with. Next up in the plugin chain is, of course, a compressor, which is absolutely necessary for bass, in my opinion, because otherwise it will be very fluttery and it won't fit in your mix. And what the compressor does, of course, I'm saying this every time, please go watch other videos and read articles about compressors, because I'm not a mixing engineer and there are way better explanations on the internet. But anyway, the compressor just helps to make your signal fit better into the mix, because it's more, how should I say that, more leveled. It's to level your signal. This video is not about explaining how the compressor works for bass. I think there are videos out there that explain that way better than I can. Just gonna show you the settings if you're interested in seeing those. Already the last plugin that I use is a limiter, which is similar to the compressor in the way it helps to integrate your signal into the mix. This also helps to level the signal. You always have the same signal and the same amount of bass in your mix. Now let's take a listen to the high track. Also, just hearing this track may sound a bit odd, but again, if we listen to both, it creates a very full sound. So what this track does, it creates that high crunchiness, which actually makes the bass hearable, or the attack of the bass hearable. In the first place, there's a noise gate, because afterwards the amp will create a lot of noise, and to prevent that, I'm cutting away all signal that I don't need before it goes into the amp. Then, of course, a compressor, nothing very fancy here. And then I'm using a guitar amplifier, the Turbo Head, with the high octane 4x12 cabinet and the dynamic 57 mic. You can use any guitar amp. It's nice to have variation. I mean, you don't need to use this amp in particular. This is not about this is the way to get the sound, but more like here's an idea how to create a sound. Go ahead and try it out yourself. See what you like, see what you not like. The bass through a guitar amp kind of creates weird frequencies that are quite annoying, so therefore these crazy cuts here. Yeah, here's the point. On this track we're cutting away the lows, and before on the other track we cut away the highs, so this kind of overlaps now and makes this sound like it's one track. Just to hear it again. And now if we just listen to the bass and the guitars and then turn off the clank track, you're gonna hear how the bass is going to disappear or pop. Yeah, so the low track actually fills up the frequencies underneath the guitars, and the clank is just there to make it stick out. Just to sum that up again. That is for a bass tone with a real bass. Now let's switch to a project with MIDI bass. Sorry. And here we are at the second project. Just like before, we're gonna take a quick listen to what the whole thing sounds like. Let's check out the bass, the MIDI bass track. It sounds quite, yeah, like a robot, but I mean, I didn't care much about velocities or so. I just want some bass to be there, you know? If you switch on the drums, it becomes alive. What I didn't do is like doing the 2-track method here. I haven't quite figured out how to get that crispiness, but I think this bass plugin is already pretty good by itself. What do you have here? It's actually a preset from Logic that I used. You go to Library, Bass, and then it's the picked bass, and on that I based my preset. So the MIDI signal goes through this setting here of the Logic bass amplifier without any cap, just preamp. And then of course compressor. But the thing is, because this bass is so linear and even, there's not so much compression needed than with a real bass, I figured out. And then just a very, very basic EQ to be in control of that low end. That's the advantage of a MIDI bass. It is really nice because it just fills up those frequencies underneath the guitars, because the guitars are quite thin, and the bass just makes them sound bigger because it's just layered underneath those. Yeah, I mean, there's not much to say about that. It may be weird to program the bass at first, but I mean, in metal, the bass basically is just there to play the same thing than the guitars do. I mean, if you fiddle around with velocity and you know, maybe not snap the notes to the grid, you can create a pretty organic bass tone just using MIDI bass. That's why I love the modern days. You can create everything on your computer, which is amazing. I love that. I think I stopped talking here. So here we are back again. I hope this video was a bit helpful and maybe even entertaining. If you're new to my channel, feel free to subscribe and browse the other videos. That's all for today. Take care, and I will see you next time.